Hello, welcome to Algorithms. My name is Saurabh, and today we are going to talk about Sase conceptual model and use cases in terms of security and network. So, as I said in my previous presentation, why we need a Sassy framework because there is increasing number of users, number of devices are growing, uh, requirement for data sensitivity is also growing, user traffic is growing, traffic that is coming from branch offices to the public cloud is increasing at a rapid pace. More workloads are shifting to cloud. So these are one of the primary reasons why there is a need for a convergence of network and security, and we need a dynamic framework which addresses these security requirements which comes from different types of consumers, and it has to be handled in a very dynamic manner because that hub and spoke network and security architecture, which was a solution in the past at the time of data center centric organizations, is no more applicable, or it is no more addressing the needs of business, as well as putting more risk on the business from the cost perspective as well as from the overhead perspective. Now, identity centric architecture, I discussed about the role of identity in the zero trust architecture presentation and rest of the five foundations, and how it has to play an important role, or it plays an important role when we are designing a zero trust architecture. So since Sassy framework also talks about identity centric architecture, but it does not mean that identity is the only item, means they are, again, their focus is zero trust architecture, but in this case we are talking about network and security convergence. So identity plays a very important role, and those enterprise architects and solution architects and cybersecurity experts, network architects, if they are designing, if they are at a point where they are looking at their strategy and readjusting it and then coming up with a reference architecture, I guess it is very important for them to look at these reference models or reference frameworks before they make any changes, so that they know what is coming ahead from the cloud vendors as well, because Gartner is predicting 20 by 2025 most of the vendors will have this kind of offerings, and looking at the current scenario, it is very much possible that uh, these cloud vendors may come up with these solutions in next 2 years or 1 year. So it is very important that you come up with the reference architecture or approach, so that you can consume that that offering, or you can use those products or integrate that product within your organization, whether you are using cloud infrastructure or hybrid cloud, or on premise and hybrid cloud, does not matter, but you should be able to integrate with this architecture going forward, so that you have less overhead from the network and security perspective, and you are able to serve your customer better. So here we are talking about three different use cases. So one person is a salesperson. He needs access to Salesforce CRM after hours from airport Wi-Fi on our managed device. The other person is a contractor who needs access to an enterprise web enabled app hosted in an on premises data center. And the third use case is a wind turbine that needs uh, access for data analytics on sensor data, and then needs to stream the results to AWS or Azure, but at the same time want to make sure that it is obscuring the location of turbines. So when data is in transit, if any hacker attacks or tries to get access of that data, they should not come to know the location of those turbines at this. So see, look at the nature of three different use cases. It's very different. So one is an employee, one is contractor, and the third one I took, rather than consumer, I took more of a machine. That okay, if because we need to make sure that whether it is a human or machine, both have to have access or a secure access to the environment, and how this dynamic access or policy is going to be managed, that we will look at in the next slide. So you see there are different components within the stack from the network perspective as well as from the security perspective. And if simultaneously, irrespective of, and okay, before I go into this, let me tell you one thing, and which is very common. When you are accessing application, it is not that you are accessing one application. For instance, if you are a salesperson, you have access to your Office 365, you open your Facebook, you open your Salesforce, you open some private applications as well, you open a personal internet banking application as well, which is not inspected. So now you look at the spectrum of the need, irrespective of who you are, whether it is a contractor or an employee, means anyone accesses, like it is very common. So that's the reason I am not just focusing on one part of it, and that's the reason I covered multiple use cases for a single use case. So for instance, in this case, what we are saying is, even if you are a salesperson or a contractor, it is pretty much assumed that you are accessing applications within the organization, outside the organization, and there could be some private applications as well. Now, considering all that, how do we secure your device? Because your device is is uh, is vulnerable, is prone to attack. So how do we make sure that your device is secure, plus whatever you are accessing within the network is secure as well? Now, if you look at George, so George is a contractor, and if you look at the applications, or the from the security perspective, the web application firewall wall is enabled, zero trust architecture, uh, zero trust network architecture concepts are enabled, or security is enabled, sensitive data discovery is enabled, network encryption and decryption is enabled. Now you see the length of or the number of security concepts applied when George is trying to access, or a contractor is trying to access, right? And at the same time, when a turbine is trying to access, WAF, web application firewall is enabled, zero trust network architecture is enabled, uh, the privacy of the location, or the data privacy is enabled. That means the data is encrypted, and the network is also encrypted, through which it is traveling from source to destination. Because that encryption and privacy is important when we are talking about the turbine or energy applications, where we are talking about a machine is communicating to the network and then sending data to your destination servers. And it could be, as I said, different applications. It could be and there are different things which are accessed. So in one case, it is edge computing capabilities. In other example, it is more of internet sites that a customer need. On the other hand, some of them are looking at more on-premises application. So you see, we looked at different use cases and how they are accessing, and it's all available in one solution. So they don't have to deploy different solution for different type or category. Now, this provides a lot of flexibility from the management perspective, from the monitoring perspective, and from the auditing perspective as well. Because you know right away if there is a threat, how do you prevent it, how do you detect it. Those kind of things are enabled as well, especially if you have users who are accessing your data, your application from guest Wi-Fi's like airports, coffee shops, because that's where the risk is, huge risk is. Now how they are detecting it, how they are making sure it is enabling the right policies for the right folks at the right time. So the whole concept is now changing, and it is moving towards uh, access from anywhere or access everywhere kind of concept that has to be enabled, or make sure that organization as well as network and security teams are able to provide. So I hope this makes sense to you guys, and if you have any questions, please drop it in the comments box, and I'll get back to you. But if you want to see more of such presentations, please leave your comments, and I'll make sure that those presentations or tutorials are delivered as well. But as I said, keep watching, consume the material, then go out, and when you look at the or when you talk to the respective individuals, discuss those concepts, spread the awareness, because the whole goal or the initiative is to spread awareness. So when you are designing, whether you are enterprise architect or whether you are cybersecurity expert or you are solution architect, everybody has to be aware of these concepts, so that when they are designing solutions, they just make sure not only they are addressing current business goals, but they are reducing overhead and enhancing security for the future as well. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.